Best Bites Forever.
Hey everyone, welcome to Best Bites Forever. I'm Chef Alicia, and in this video you'll learn to make Pollo alla Romana, or Roman style chicken. I would also like to give a quick thank you to Matthew for putting in this request. Thanks, Matthew. I'm starting off here with 8 chicken thighs. It's about 2 pounds worth of chicken, and I want to make sure to give this a nice covering of kosher salt. I'm using kosher salt here, not table salt or iodized salt, because when you use kosher salt, it has a bit more airspace in it, so you're less likely to oversalt when you're using it. This way you can give your meat a nice little coating. I'm also going to give it some nice freshly ground black pepper, just a nice little coating over it. Over here, I have a bit of olive oil in the bottom of my pan, and I'm going to add my chicken thighs in here. I'm on about medium-high heat. I don't need to be on high here because my stove gets really hot. Notice that I'm giving my chicken plenty of room. You don't want to put it too close or you'll steam it instead of getting a nice brown crispy crust. Here I have 3 ounces of prosciutto, which is 85 grams. I've already stacked this little amount here, but when I was doing it, it comes on these kind of sheets and you have to peel it apart. So peel all of your prosciutto and then stack it up. The next thing that I'm doing is cutting it into like kind of bite-sized pieces. This is a stew, so I don't want to have anything too big in it. I'm going to return it to the package just to keep it from drying out and put it over to the side. The next thing I'm going to do is cut up my bell peppers. I have already chopped up 1 orange and 1 yellow bell pepper, so now I'm going to chop up my red bell pepper. The way that I like to do it is to cut off the individual sides and then I remove all of the seeds. The seeds kind of have a bitter taste when they cook to me, so I like to make sure that I get all of them out of there, but it's totally up to you. So I'm going to go ahead and continue here, cutting off each of the sides and removing the seeds. And of course, all of these scraps are going to inky do. When I'm chopping up my bell pepper, I'm not doing it skin side up. It's a lot easier to do the skin side on your cutting board because it's pretty firm to cut through. So put that down and cut through the fleshy inside first. Turn these sideways and cut them into a dice. If you would like to use green bell peppers in this dish, that is perfectly fine. I like the sweetness that these peppers bring in contrast to the saltiness of the prosciutto, so that is why I've chose to use these colors instead of green. The next thing that I'm going to chop up is my tomatoes. I have 4 vine-ripened tomatoes, and this guy I cored plus cut a little yucky spot off of the top. I'm going to go ahead and quarter it, and then once again I like to remove the seeds. So if you watch any of my videos, you'll see that I pretty much take the seeds out of all of my tomatoes. These never go to waste because my daughter loves to eat them, so she will be coming by with a spoon any second, so don't worry about the waste. Next, after I remove all of the seeds, I'm going to dice these tomatoes into a pretty little dice, and then I'm going to just put them over here to the side. So there's a good look at the size that I'm going for. Here is the garlic, which I have minced. I'm going to put that over to the side. I also have some oregano and fresh thyme. To remove the leaves from your herbs, you simply want to pull backwards down the stem. Do you all know the difference between an herb and a spice? If you do, pause right now and leave it in the comments, and I will tell you the difference in a couple of minutes and you can see if you were right. So I have my oregano here, and I am going to put it into a nice little pile, and then I just want to run my knife through it a couple of times, like twice. Don't over chop your herbs. If you have green oil on your cutting board, then you are over chopping. I'm going to go ahead and do the same thing with my thyme. It's time to check on my chicken. Speaking of thyme, it's time to check on my chicken over here, which is absolutely beautiful. I cooked it 4 minutes on the first side and 3 minutes on the second side. I'm going to go ahead and remove it from the pan, and it is definitely not cooked at this point. It is not ready to eat, but I'm going to do my second batch. So I did go ahead and do this in 2 different batches, again because I don't want to steam my chicken. You will not get that beautiful browning if you have your chicken all pushed together. And also, I forgot to show you earlier, but I did salt and pepper the other side of my chicken once I put it into the pan, so now I'm showing you to do that. My second batch is coming out of the pan, and again I'm just going to add it to the plate and set it over to the side. I have that nice hot oil sitting there. I didn't take anything out of there, but I'm adding my prosciutto in. While my second batch was cooking, I just kind of pulled my prosciutto apart so it wasn't sticking together. So I'm going to give this a little bit of a stir just for maybe a minute or so. I'm going to kind of try to crisp up my prosciutto a little bit, and then I want to add that garlic that I have minced up. So I minced about 4 cloves of garlic, and they were pretty good sized cloves. It's probably a little bit more garlic than you're gonna find traditionally. Maybe 2 cloves would be a bit more traditional, but what can I say? I have an Americanized palate and I love a lot of garlic in a lot of things. So anyway, I have 4 cloves of garlic in here, and you can see here that my prosciutto has kind of changed color a little bit. My garlic is still nice and light, and I am ready to add in my bell peppers. So the bell peppers are going in. I'm just going to stir this around and kind of let it cook for a minute or two, of course with just a little bit of salt and pepper. Don't over salt this. You do want to add salt and pepper after each addition, like after you add an ingredient, but you want to be really careful with this dish because you do have that salty prosciutto in there. So salt, but salt carefully. The next thing that I'm adding in is 1 cup of dry white wine. And I'm going to reduce this just a little bit for, let's say, 3 minutes on medium-high. Once I get the reduction that I'm looking for, I'm going to add in those tomatoes that we chopped up. And I'm also going to add in some chicken stock. I'm adding in 1 cup here. Again, little pinch of salt, little pinch of pepper, and the chicken stock that I just used did not have any salt in it at all, so please do keep that in mind. If yours has salt in it, you don't need to add any extra salt at this point. I'm going to give this a nice little stir, and then I'm going to add in my herbs. So did you answer my question in the comments? What is an herb? Well, an herb is the green leafy part of a plant. The spice is the root, the stem, the seed, the flower, or the bark. So pretty much anything that isn't the green leafy part. I've given this a little stir, and now I'm going to add my chicken back in. This time you can nuzzle your chicken up right next to each other. It isn't going to make much of a difference, but I do try to keep that nice crispy skin kind of above the liquid level. I'm also going to add in all of that liquid that collected on the plate because that has a ton of flavor. Here I'm just using my spatula to kind of go around the pot and make sure that nothing is sticking on the sides because I don't want anything unevenly cooked. I'm going to put my lid on here and I'm going to allow this to simmer, only simmer, not boil, for 30 minutes. So I have reduced my heat way down to low. So here's what my simmer looks like. This is 30 minutes later and my chicken is definitely done cooking. I don't want to overcook it, so I'm going to take it out of the pan. But as I'm looking at my liquid here, I'm thinking to myself that I would actually like it to be a little bit thicker. So if you would like to keep it where it is, obviously you can just go ahead and serve this now. But if you want to, you can go ahead and reduce it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank the heat up to high and I'm going to reduce this for like 6 or 7 minutes until I get it just a little bit thicker. I want it to have that really nice mouthfeel when I serve it. So this is also going to concentrate the flavors really nicely. So once I get it where I am happy with it, I am ready to serve it. Now you can serve this family style if you want to and just take the chicken and put it right back in there, put it on the table, and you're ready to go. I'm going to go ahead and plate mine up individually. So I have these cute little bowls here. And I just want to spoon a couple of spoons of the lovely stew. And I mean, like, seriously, check out how beautiful that color is. I am absolutely loving it. I wish you could smell it, but I know you can't. But when you make it at home yourself, you're going to smell it and you're going to be like, oh, it smells really good. So anyway, nice little amount of the stew. Put a piece of chicken on top, and then we're going to garnish it. So a rule of thumb for garnishing, and this isn't like a steadfast you have to do it rule, but a rule of thumb is to garnish with something that is in there. So in this case, I am using a piece of oregano, and this is what it's going to look like.